Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. And on today's episode, we talk a little bit about if I had a magic wand and I could create 10 whiskeys, these are 10 I would choose. Run the video. All right then folks, thank you for joining us for another new and exciting episode here on the Whiskey Cove, where we will talk a little bit about 10 whiskies that I would really like to see come out. If I had a magic wand, I would pick some of these. Obviously, we could go off the deep end and choose crazy BTAC and Buffalo Trace, kind of a pappy stuff. Yes, we have some hard allocated stuff on this list, but these are just 10 kind of mid to high level tier whiskey that I would love to see coming out. With that being said, if you haven't already, subscribe to the video and go over to the whiskeycove.square.site where you can be in with a chance to win a whole bottle of Pappy Van Winkle 10 year. On top of that, we are going to bring out a new bottle every 500 subscribers until we get to 10,000 subscribers. We'll do a massive live stream and then we'll give away some awesome bottles for completely free. Have to be a subscriber and you have to sign up for that giveaway ticket over on the Whiskey Cove's webpage. With that being said, these are 10 bottles that would be pretty cool if they came out in no particular order. So for bottle number 1, I would like to see an E.H. Taylor toasted bourbon. I think there might be room for that in the toasted and E.H. Taylor lineup. Also, while I'm talking about each bottle, I'm going to give you a price of what I would like it to be. With that being said, I also would like to throw this out as a challenge for the YouTube Whiskeyverse, if you like. So I challenge the wonderful folks over at Brothers Barrel up in Washington to do their own version of this list. Charles over at That Bourbon Dude, and also your drinking buddy as well. So I'll tag those 3 and let's see if we can kind of create a little bit of a movement here on the Whiskeyverse. So E.H. Taylor toasted bourbon, how much would I pay for it? I would like to see it at $75. I think E.H. Taylor small batch and single barrel sits at MSRP. I know prices may vary by location, around $50, even $40 for the small batch, up to around $70. So toasted maybe at an extra $75, $80 wouldn't be too bad. I think the E.H. Taylor profile is already really set up for it. I think it has beautiful vanilla notes, really nice subtle wood backbone, and a really nice vanilla punch. So I think adding an extra double barrel or toasted note to that could really create something special. So E.H. Taylor toasted bourbon for $75. Next up, and this is maybe a little bit of a cheeky one if you like, and that is I would like to see an old grandad 15-year age statement. That's not the kicker. The kicker is for sub $70. So yes, the old grandad 16 is a thing, but that's $200 bottle at $200. That doesn't really make sense. So I'd like to see old grandad hear what we're all saying, or Jim Beam I should say, and bring out a 15-year-old grandad, but charge less than $70 for it, because I feel like that's probably where the 16-year should lie, because it is an old grandad product, and charging $200, or what I paid for it was $210 at the distillery, is wild in my mind. Yes, the whiskey is good, but it's a crazy price for that branding. Next up, I would like to see from Wild Turkey for number 3 a rare breed non-chill filtered, which we already have. It's an international exclusive, but I would like to see this as a true cask strength. Yes, the rare breed non-chill filtered sits at 58.4%. At barrel proof or at cask strength. This bottle, we can't find it. It's at airports, it is overseas, but I want to see that bottle come to the United States, the cask strength, the barrel proof, whatever they're going to label it as, but it has to be rare breed, non-chill filtered. I would like to see this sub $80 because it is a 1 liter bottle. If it was a 750 milliliter bottle, $70 would be okay. So Wild Turkey, we really like this bottle. The people of the Whiskeyverse has spoken. Please bring it back here to the US so we can be able to get it, because it is that good. I probably need to stop talking about it because I am bigging it up basically every video I feel like at this point. Bottle number 4 on this list, I would like to see a Jack Daniel's cask strength bourbon. So we have a cask strength Tennessee whiskey over my shoulder up over here, but it's it's kind of not a bourbon. It is a bourbon and it's not a bourbon. But I would like to see a branded Jack Daniel's product as a bourbon. I think that would be pretty awesome. I know they generally don't do it ever, but I feel like if they can find a way to call one of their cask strength whiskeys a bourbon, I think that would appeal to the masses quite a lot. We have seen the 12, the 10, and the 14-year come out, and the new 14-year coming out now has a bit of an ABV kick up to it, but it's still a Tennessee whiskey. I haven't tried the 14, but I've tried the 10, and I've tried a lot of other stuff from Jack Daniel's, and it's all wonderful stuff, but it never carries the name bourbon. I know they're kind of a bit of a stickler for that, but you know, times are changing a little bit. I think we can maybe rein that in. So a Jack Daniel's cask strength bourbon would be pretty cool. How much would I pay for that? It would go up to $90. I know that's a lot of money, but I think it's, what is the Tennessee whiskey, the barrel proof one, like $60, $65, $70? So an extra $20 for an official bourbon, I would be okay with that. Next up, and maybe a bottle that we might actually see in 2025, I would like to see an Elijah Craig barrel proof toasted rye. We already have different versions of this. We have the Elijah Craig barrel proof. We have the Elijah Craig barrel proof toasted bourbon. We have the Elijah Craig rye. So I think we're getting there. I think the toasted rye would be pretty cool. I think the barrel proof bourbon that I tried recently had more savory notes to it, which is why I believe a toasted rye barrel proof from Elijah Craig would really fit into that slot. How much would I like to see? So the toasted barrel proof bourbon was actually sitting at $100. I put $80 for this. Just because I think the $100 is a little bit overpriced for what it is anyway. But for $80, I think that would be more fair, more in line with a lot of what Elijah Craig do. So that was number 5, an Elijah Craig barrel proof toasted rye. Number 6, and kind of staying with the Heaven Hill family, I would love, this would be really cool, a Bernheim barrel proof toasted. We're talking a lot about toasted whiskey on these lists so far. We do have one more left, but I think our toasted wheat whiskey from Bernheim would be phenomenal. We already have the 7-year, we already have the barrel proofs. It is pretty affordable in price. How much would I pay for this? I would push the envelope for another $15 or so I would take us up to $80. I think that already that this whiskey is set up for a toasted whiskey. We'll see. Maybe is this a whiskey we'll see in 2025 or 2026? I feel that a lot of people do like toasted whiskeys. We don't really see that many toasted wheat whiskies. Bernheim have been putting out wheat whiskey for years. Or Heaven Hill have been putting out wheat whiskey under the Bernheim brand for years. So I think this is maybe a bit more of a common sense thing for $70. That was number 6. Number 7, and this is something that we already have, but it's something that we should have distribution of. And that is because I want to see a Michters single barrel strength. So how can you already get this bottle? So you can get this bottle right here. So up here, the Michters barrel strength single barrel, you can only get this at the distillery, and it's kind of like you fill your own bottle. I feel like we should have this around the whole market. I don't think it needs to be specific to Michters. I think there's enough want. We already have the Michters barrel strength bourbon. We already have the Michters single barrel, so 10 years. So why not have a single barrel strength that is distributed to the whole of the US? Problem is with Michters, a lot of the specialty stuff is kind of going off the deep end in terms of price. Like the Michters 10-year is like $200, and you can throw that price at the rye. The Bombergers is $140, so sadly the price will probably be like $150 plus. I would like to see it at $80, but yeah, that's probably not going to happen. That was the Michters single barrel strength. Number 8, I would like to see an ultra-aged Booker's. A lot of the Bookers, of course, we saw one of the recent ones that they put out, I think it was the Founders, that had a little bit higher age to it, but I would like to see like a 15-year age dated Bookers. It would probably cost us a pretty penny, because Bookers already is like $100. The newest release, the Reserves, excuse me, was like $130. So what would this cost? Probably $150, $160, $170, $180 plus. And so For a 15-year, staying within kind of a budget that I have, which is I never really want to pay more than $10 a year. So $150 what is, yes, Bookers are already priced highly. That's why I kind of settled for 150. A nice ultra-aged Bookers, because I think that's what we're missing a little bit with Bookers. It's always like 6 and 7 years old. Can we see one at 15 years or more? So 2 bottles left and some really fun ones. And this is the last toasted on this list. I would like to see a bottled in bond toasted Weller. Yes, we have a bunch of different Wellers. We have the 12, the Special Reserve, the Antique 107, the Craft Your Perfect Bourbon, or Choose Your Perfect Bourbon. Always mix that up. And then the single barrel. And then also the really high specialty releases that we will never get, like the Weller Millennium and the Emma Wheat Weller, but maybe we need to get a new one that goes into the full-time Weller lineup, and like a 100 proof 50% ABV Weller toasted, so another wheated toasted bourbon. I would love to see that. I already really like the Weller wheated bourbon profile, so why not toast it? Go one more extra step. How much would I pay for that? I said $75. A lot of the Weller lineup already sits within that bracket, and I feel like 75 is on the higher end of the MSRP spectrum. So if I could get one for $75, I think it would be a great bottle of whiskey, and I think it's a bottle that Buffalo Trace should definitely think a little bit about. And then lastly, number 10 on this list of bottles of whiskey that I would love to see come out. Evan Williams single barrel picks. So Heaven Hill have basically made all of their lines at this point single barrel picks. I assume that Bernheim is probably going to be coming out here with their own barrel picks here. Evan Williams, we already don't have that. We don't have that overseas. The only real single barrel that we have is the Evan Williams 7-year single barrel. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like a true barrel-proof single barrel, like a 10-year, much like the Elijah Craig picks, much like the kind of Lastonary picks. I think there is a market for that. There is a lot of Evan Williams fans out there. I am a big Evan Williams fan. There's a lot of story attached to Evan Williams and him coming over from my home country of Wales, settling in Louisville, and then kind of firing up the distillery there. So I would love to see that. I think they could absolutely knock it out of the park. I'm sure they have the barrels there. How much would I pay for it? I'm a bit of a sucker. I would pay $80 for it. Yes, I know they've done some fun stuff with like the Master Selects and stuff like that, but still not a true Evan Williams single barrel. So I would like to see it at $80. How much would I pay? Probably a little bit more, just being a little bit of a fanboy. But it would be awesome to see Evan Williams single barrel. So just going over the list here, and I kind of wrote it down here. E.H. Taylor toasted bourbon would be pretty cool. An old Grandad 15-year, only for it to be sub $70. The Rare Breed non-chill filtered barrel proof to be distributed here in the US. Jack Daniel's Cask Strength Bourbon. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Toasted Rye, which I think we might actually see here this year. Bernheim Barrel Proof Toasted. Michters Single Barrel Strength, which we already have at the distillery, but again, like the Wild Turkey and non-chill filter, to be distributed nationally. The Bookers, but we have to carry like a 15-year age statement. The bottled in bond toasted well, how fun would that be? And then lastly, an Evan Williams single barrel proof, like the 10-year picks that they already have for the Elijah Craig and Larceny. So that Bourbon Du Charles, Brothers Barrel, and Your Drinking Buddy, this challenge is thrown out to you. What 10 whiskeys would you like to see kind of brought onto the market if you had a magic wand? Yes, I could have picked maybe like a 25 or a 50-year Pappy or a George T. Stagg that was hazmat every year, but I wanted to stick to somewhat realistic ones. So the challenge is thrown out to you. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to sign up for the Whiskey Lottery. It is the 10,000 subscriber giveaway. We're gonna have some fantastic bottles. Go over to the webpage, sign up, and make sure you are a subscriber. As we drink through the world's whiskeys one glass at a time, thank you so much for watching, and let me know down in the comment section, what whiskeys would you like to see being brought out? Cheers.